What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be telling you how you can get the Allier skin for free. If you guys were unaware, Allier has gotten an icon skin in Fortnite, and similar to the Chica skin, there will be a zero build tournament, and if you do well in it, you will be able to unlock the Allier skin for free and early. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you watch this video. I'm going to have lots of tips for the zero build mode as far as tournaments go, and I was able to unlock the Chica skin in the last tournament. If you guys do enjoy this video or find it helpful or informative, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and comment down below if you've played in tournaments in the past or if this is going to be your first Fortnite tournament that you end up playing. I think a lot of people have recently gotten into competitive with the zero build mode, or like they've gotten into Fortnite with the zero build mode, and this will be like some of their first tournaments that they end up playing. So comment that down below. I'm interested to see how that is for you guys. So the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be your landing. I feel like in tournaments, there's always those people that think they need to land hot and drop an insane high kill game, and that's how they're going to get most of their points. And that can work to an extent, but as far as the zero build mode goes, I think it's really easy to get a lot of kills if you just exist in game. It's oftentimes really frantic in the end game, and whichever team has the best positioning is just going to mop up tons of kills. So you don't necessarily need to land hot, and having one good game in the tournament won't necessarily get you the skin. You need to do well consistently. So I'd recommend landing at a spot that you are comfortable landing at. Probably not the hottest place. Like if you want to go to the hottest place, that's fine. But it's likely that landing at a more like medium to low population spot and getting loot and like getting like geared up before fighting players is going to be the best success for you. Land at a spot that you're familiar with and that you and your duo are comfortable playing out. You want to know like how to loot the spot, how to fight there, how to rotate out of there, where the cars are around that location, where the coolers are around that location, because splashes are really good in the zero build game mode. What NPCs in that area sell that could be beneficial to you. You want to like know your drop spot as much as you can and keep all of those things in mind when you're choosing a drop spot. And like I already said, you want to go somewhere where both you and your duo are comfortable with all of those things. And you don't necessarily need to hot drop every game and go to the hottest POI, because sure, that can be a way to get a lot of kills, but you can also get a bunch of deaths that you maybe didn't deserve. Like it could be pretty random hot dropping, and you could just throw a bunch of your games away that way. So I would recommend landing at a more low to medium like population spot and somewhere where you're comfortable playing and fighting. And then that kind of goes in with like what I was saying before. You want to make it in game. Not only is there going to be placement points, but you're going to be able to mop up a lot of kills there. Like that's what my experience was in the Chica Cup. And when it does come to fighting other teams, whether it's early game, late game, mid game, whatever, you want to try to team shot as much as possible and just knock one guy out of the fight. If you and another duo are fighting and you and your teammate both knock player one, not only does that cut that duo's firepower in half, you no longer have two people shooting at you, you force that other player to respond and do things that it just makes it way more difficult for them than it is for you. They have to choose whether or not they're fighting a 1v2. They have to choose whether or not they're rezzing their teammate. They probably have their teammate backseat gaming in their ear. It just creates a very stressful environment. So if you're able to get a pick and knock one really early in the fight, that's what you want to do. If you see your teammate shooting somebody, try to focus that person as well. If you know one of them's cracked, try to focus that one. If you're third partying a fight, try to get a knock as soon as possible. That way, like the fight's just really messy for the opponent and much more stressful for them than it is for you. And I know, like we talked about before, this is probably a lot of you's first tournament, but that goes for the opponents as well. You know, it's not like everybody that you're playing against is going to be very experienced competing in Fortnite, and you can kind of use that to your advantage. If you create stressful situations, they're going to mess up. As far as for what items you want to carry, that is something that changes pretty significantly for me, going from zero build pubs to zero build competitive. And the main reason that is because since the end games are more populated, I tend to take cow catchers more in tournaments than I do for zero build pubs. Like they're good in zero build pubs, but I usually play really aggressive and the end game is going to be really dead. But in zero build comp, it can be pretty difficult to play aggressively because you're going to get third partied and you can't really do anything to protect yourself like you could in the normal mode with building. So I think having cow catchers is pivotal for zero build competitive. You want to make sure you have these. I feel like you also want to make sure you have mobility, whether it's shockwaves or rift to goes. Both are really good. Shockwaves are good offensively and defensively, because you can shockwave away from a fight, you can shockwave up to like a good position. If you get a pick on a team or you get a lot of damage, you can shockwave onto them and press that advantage. There's so many things you can do with the shockwaves. And then rift to goes, it's kind of not as convenient to use them aggressively because people can fry you when you're like gliding onto them, but you can use it to get good positioning. You can use it to get an easy rotate, which is huge in the zero build mode. We talked before about how you want to make sure you make it end game, and the Rift to Goes can be pivotal for that. So if you find those, it's probably going to be worth having somebody on your team carry them. Mobility is really important. End game is very scuffed, and the teams that have mobility and are able to get to the important spot in zone are often going to have the advantage. So you want to make sure you have mobility. You want to make sure you have cow catchers. That way when you get to that good spot, you actually have cover and you can hold it. And then as far as weapons go, I was frequently only carrying 2 weapons. That's how my loadout often deviates. In pubs, I usually carry 3 guns. But in competitive, I feel like you want the AUG and you want the drum shotty or the combat SMG. I was rarely carrying both. Like, sure, if you're early game, that's fine. But for competitive end games and zero build, I think that you're going to want to have cow catchers. You're going to want to have mobility. You're going to want to have heals. So you have to drop 1 weapon. And I feel like it's pretty easy to get by with no SMG if you're using the drum shotty. And if you're confident in your aim, you can use no shotgun and use the combat SMG and you're going to fry people. I feel like often in zero build competitive, a lot of fights just come down to you holding another team out of zone. And the fact that you don't have a shotgun won't be the biggest deal because a lot of your fights are going to be mid-range. In the Chica Cup, pretty sure I got wins using only an SMG and no shotgun. So combat SMG only is viable if your aim is good, but if you aren't confident in your aim, using the drum shotty is fine. And I think you definitely want to have an AR because you're going to have a lot of mid-range fights. For me, the AUG is the preferred assault rifle. So yeah, you're probably going to only want to carry 2 guns. That way you can get mobility. Cars are also very helpful. Typically, I don't use cars as much in pubs. I mean, I sometimes do, but it's a different way. Like, you want to rotate and you want to have good positioning as much as possible in the zero build mode, and having a car allows you to get across the map quickly and safely. If you're walking across an open field and you just get beamed, there's nothing you can really do about it. But if you're driving through the open field, it's going to be much harder for the people to hit you. You're going to be protected in your car. You're going to get through it much faster, so people are going to have less time to shoot at you. That's why I said before, when it comes to your drop spot, you want to know where the car spawns are around you, because you're likely going to use a car as much as possible. I think for these tournaments, unless you're very good and very confident, you probably want to fight off spawn and clear your POI, get your loot, and then from that point on, just play for endgame, because if you make it endgame, you're going to have opportunities to get a lot of kills and you're going to get those placement points. If you're very confident, then you can like play really aggressive mid-game if you want, but I feel like it's really risky to do so in the zero build mode because you cannot build to protect yourself. So having cars to rotate to dead side of zone and just hold people and like set up for endgame is going to be preferred, I think. And then the same goes with the Rift to Go. You can use the Rift to Go to get good positioning or to just basically bypass the zone. You know, you could camp in a house, see where zone is. Once it pops, rift, and then go to like a random house in the next zone and be able to make it through zones using the Rift to Goes or the cars. So I think playing for in-game is going to be as important as possible, and you want to position yourself to hold people out in-game, you know? If you get to moving zones and one team is able to gatekeep the rest of the zone with mobility, like let's say you see where zone is, you shockwave to it, and then you hold the rest of the lobby out, you are going to get so many kills. Like, so many people... This comes into what we were saying before about them not being confident and not being comfortable competing. A lot of people don't want to do anything in-game from my experience in these cups. And so they wait until the last possible moment to rotate. And then once zone starts forcing them out, like it gets crazy and everybody starts rotating at once. And if you're the team that is in zone or in the proper spot to be able to hold people, you're going to be able to mop up so many kills. That's why I was saying that like you don't necessarily need to stress kills early game or late game. If you make it to end game, not only are you going to get the placement points, but you are going to get so many easy kills. I promise. Like if you're in the right spot in game, you're going to get kills. And that is what zero build competitive comes down to, in my opinion, is just not making mistakes and putting yourself in the right spot. If you put yourself in the right spot consistently in the zero build mode, you're going to be able to get kills because the mode is just way easier, you know? If you're playing normal Fortnite competitive, you can't just sit there and AUG somebody to death. They're going to build and they're going to tunnel, and you're going to have to actually like force them to die, right? But in zero build, people cannot protect themselves. If you're in the right spot and you're AUGing somebody, you're just going to clean up kills, and it's really easy. So I think that's pretty much all you want to do. Clear your POI, make sure you have mobility, make sure you have cow catchers, make sure you have heals, and then play to just get ahead of zone and hold people, and you're going to clean up so many kills in this game mode. It's really all it comes down to. And another thing I wanted to cover before this video ends is just basically how the cups work, because I think this is going to be a lot of people's first tournament, or at least one of their first few tournaments that they've played. But the cups in Fortnite basically have matchmaking built into them, to where if you have a lot of points, you match the other people who have a lot of points. So the more points you get in the tournament, the harder your games become, and then the teams that are able to perform in those harder games end up doing well. Cool. And the reason why that is important to know is because if you end up starting late, you can get a very easy game. This isn't ideal, but if you're in a situation where maybe you start 30 minutes late, you can get a really easy game because a lot of people have already played several games and you're playing against other people who don't have any points that late into the tournament. And another way that's helpful is if you have a good game, let's say your first game, you end up like popping off, you get the win, you get a decent amount of kills, but you don't think you're that good. Like you think you got lucky or you just got an easy lobby, whatever. You might want to take a break and wait for other teams to get points and then play again. That way you don't end up wasting games playing against a harder opponent. So if you're in a rut, let's say like you have a good amount of points and it just seems like every match you're getting destroyed now, maybe take a short break, like 10, 20 minutes. That way the rest of the population of the tournament can catch up and you can maybe get easier games. And if you are like pretty desperate, maybe you can start late. I ended up starting late in the Chica Cup, not by like intention. It was just my teammate got on late, like they had other stuff to do. And I think we started like an hour and a half late and we ended up getting like 30 something kills in a win on our first game because it was so easy and everyone was so lost. So that is something to consider if you aren't confident in your skill. Maybe you start a little late, play a little aggressive in the first few games until you get a decent amount of points. Hopefully you'll get a win in there, and then you can start playing normally. The only thing with starting late or taking breaks is there is a time limit for these tournaments. You have like 3 hours to play 10 games. And if it gets down to the wire and you have like 30 minutes remaining in 5 games, you might want to just hot drop and get some kills and then back out of the game. That way you're able to actually use all of your matches. You have like what everyone calls W key games, where if you have a lot of games to get in the last hour, you just kind of like use them to get as much points as you can quickly without investing a lot of time into those matches. So that is how the tournaments work in Fortnite. I hope you found this video helpful, informative, and I hope that you were able to get the Allier skin from the cup. If you guys did find this video helpful, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and comment down below if this is going to be your first Fortnite tournament. I am interested to hear the results of that. Thanks for watching.